Can dead computers really rise from the grave? Or, like this one, do they just like to have a little sleep in on a Sunday morning? Well, let's find out. My name is Jesby, this is my tech department. Los Gates.
Oh, it's alive! It's alive! It's alive!
Sometimes I get a machine through that simply, well, is happy in the Tech Netherworld. It doesn't want to live, and no matter how much I poke and prod, well, the power stays off. La Martina here, this Macintosh classic from 1991, is just such a machine. I bought it back in the summer of 2022, and for 2.5 years I've been battling to fix it. Now, when I get machines like this, and it doesn't happen very often fortunately, I move them to what I call my personal projects pile. Now, a personal project for me is something I can come in, and if I'm having a bad day and I don't want to film, I can dig it out and just have a tinker. And that's what's happened with La Martina. She goes on, I suppose, the back burner. But in 2.5 years of back burnering, not a single thing has worked. So why don't we take a look and see some of the repair fixes I've tried that I was filming before we get on to what happened recently. Yes, back in the summer of 2020, I'd picked up this Mac Classic and I'm about to test it for the first time. I'm so excited I'm not even wearing a mic. And, well, it's dead. Nothing happens. Oh dear. With no power, the obvious thing to do is to strip the machine down and check what's wrong. Now, this being a Mac Classic, I can already guess what the problem is, and most likely so can you. Nevertheless, it's no surprise that once we get the case off and we take a look, well, the cause is obvious. Yes, it's our old friend leaky caps. You can tell by the staining underneath this is actually pretty bad. Let's get a closer look and see what the damage is. Oh dear God. Look, I'm not going to lie, this is bad. This is exceedingly bad, even by Mac Classic standards. It's clear that electrolyte has leaked everywhere, causing a massive amount of corrosion, especially along this bottom part of the board. Those ground traces are toast. Nonetheless, I optimistically set about recapping the board. With the old caps out the way, you can see the sheer amount of leakage from that area, and I try my best to clean it up. It's a very icky job, honestly. Ew, 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 ew. And it's very, very, very leaky. Like every one of the caps in that area has just let go. So the Mac Classic is not exactly functional. Even after a recap, there's not much life in this board. Now, chances are, given the damage, it probably has more wrong with it than just a few leaky caps. However, having watched a video on the weekend by CRG, and I advise you to go check out his channel, Glenn is fantastic. He was also working on a Mac Classic and had the same problem. He recapped it, but nothing really worked. Now, he got talking to Adrian of Adrian's Digital Basement, and he recommended that with a capacitor leak, the best thing to do is to strip the board because that electrolytic will have got everywhere. And that's not a bad idea. Given the board is absolutely flooded with electrolytic, it makes sense that maybe, just maybe, it would be a good idea to take all the components off, clean the board thoroughly, and then remount everything. And, well, that's what I did eventually. I put it to one side, and then when I had a spare 5 minutes, I started taking all the parts off and cleaning that board. So let's return back to it somewhere around February to March, I believe, 2023. Alright people, I've put it back together. I haven't connected up the hard drive power, but it's okay, I know the hard drive's already dead. Let's see if it comes to life. So I'm going to switch power on first, on the switch. Well, nothing went bang. Okay, we have power on the machine. And we're back to where we were, dead. Now, it may be that the logic board is actually faulty because this machine is pretty, well, worn out, frankly. But yeah, oh well, back to the drawing board. And back to the drawing board it was. It had become clear during the disassembly and reassembly process that the board was absolutely knackered. Traces were lifting, pads would disappear in the blink of an eye. The electrolytic damage was so bad that it didn't matter what I did, this board was never going to live again. So the only thing I could do was wait for a new analog board to appear, and that would be some time. We all know that PCBWay make fantastic PCB boards, starting from just $5, and include things like, well, getting a replacement board for this old ZX Spectrum. What happens if your 3D printer isn't up to the task? Or you're having a little trouble with your CNC machine? Then look no further than PCBWay. In fact, if you can design it, PCBWay can help make it a reality. PCBWay, way more than just PCBs. For more information, check out the link in the description below. It would be spring of 2024 before a new board arrived, and whilst it did look much better condition than the old board, I still took the time to recap it and make sure it was working fine, which was good because even though it looked better, the caps were leaking. Nonetheless, when I tried to switch it on, nothing. Recapping the logic board did nothing either, and in the end, I just sort of relegated it to the maybe one day pile. And then maybe one day arrived. Which brings us to last Sunday. What happened last Sunday? Well, I was in the tech department fixing a machine, PowerBook 100. Newsflash, that didn't go as well as expected, and now that's on its own pile. You'll see that again at some point, I'm sure. But feeling a bit despondent that the repair hadn't gone my way, I figured, what the hell, I had 45 minutes till I was heading home. Why don't I get La Martina and give her another bash, eh? Have a little tinker. Now, you may have noticed from the last repairs, I've changed over on the original board the optocoupler. I changed over the TDA 4605, which controls the switching power supply. And, well, a few other bits and pieces as well, and it was not successful. When I changed over the analog board, well, that was not successful either. We've seen this. However, I realized on the first repair, when I was sorting out the tech department, the optocouplers I ordered were incorrect. Now, the optocoupler for Mac Classic is a CNY17G or 17F. Essentially, CNY17. I ordered CNY17. What I hadn't realized when I got them back, and not paying attention a year and a half ago, what I got was CNY47s. Now, I don't know if there's a difference that will cause any problems. I do know that when I did try and plug in the Mac at that point, after fitting that, it did not go well. There may have been a smell of burning, but given the state of that original analog board, who can say? However, what I did have was a second TDA 4605, and when I ordered the stuff for the PowerBook repair, I ordered some proper CNY17 optocouplers. So I figured, sure, what the hell. I changed them over, I socketed the 4605, I popped in the optocoupler, which was annoying because the Apple ones are much wider legged than the current ones, but it fitted. And I changed one diode because it didn't look so great. Didn't think much of it. And then I came back, plugged it in, and expected nothing. And then this happened. Beep. Amazingly, it turns out one of the three things I changed fixed it. The Macintosh Classic lives again. And hopefully it's going to look for a disc in a minute. I'm not kidding you, I swore. A lot. Look, see there. A lot. I believe I said something akin to, no way. Yeah. So shocked as I was at seeing this work, I figured today was a brilliant time to, you know what, finish this off. So let's finish the Macintosh Classic after 2.5 years. Get it put back together, cleaned up, and see if we can get an OS on it. Come on. So there were a few jobs left to do on the Mac Classic. Now, as it happened, I did recap the logic board, but I haven't done anything about these. Now, these are the SCSI ports and printer ports and all that kind of thing. They are rusty, so let's take those covers off and get those cleaned up. Also, I need to replace the hard drive. Now, I don't think I've got a SCSI drive here, so I'll have to wait till I get a blue SCSI, because the hard drive is very, very, very dead. It spins up, spins down, spins up, spins down. Also, in the process over 2.5 years of sorting through the Mac Classic, its speaker, it's not speaker, sorry. Also, in the process of sorting out the Mac Classic over the years, its internal fan has become disconnected and is wandering around the tech department, as is the RAM expansion. Now, at the moment, I have looked around the tech department. I cannot find that RAM expansion. I know it's in here somewhere, but it's been a long time. It seems to have wandered off, but I do have the fan. So let's at least see if we can deal with that. And also we should probably check out the floppy drive, because I'm not sure I've serviced it, and it's, well, if we haven't got a working hard drive, we're going to have to boot from disk. So let's see how that goes. Come on. All right, let's start with getting that back off. And one of the most annoying things about this particular Mac Classic, compared to all the other Macs I have of a similar style, is this case does not slide off easily. Let me show you what I mean. All the screws are out, the bottom comes away, the top does not. So I just need to give it a little gentle prying. Come on. Every time. Every time. You see how the Macs, you go, oh, you just knock it on the side and it works. No. So inside we have our Mac Classic. Now I'm going to be very careful, because this now has been power on it, so very scared of that, because, you know, kill your stuff. You can see I've disconnected the hard drive there. I'm going to disconnect the floppy drive as well. I'm also going to just possibly take out that, but mostly at the moment I need to get at these. Let me show you. Right, these are our parallel port, I think, and SCSI port. They're quite rusty, so I'm going to give them a little cleanup. What I need to do with that, well, first is I need to remove them. Now, fortunately, these do seem to come away without any problem. They just need unscrewing. So, hang on, I need my glasses for this because I can't see. There we go. So let's do that. And it should just be a matter of doing that. There we go. Oh, tiny washer there. Go and take that tiny washer. And no, the SCSI one is actually attached to the port. Of course it is. Well, that's okay. Well, we'll just have to do it the old-fashioned way on that one. This, however, does come off. I can see it comes off. There we go. Yeah, that's a pity, and I'm not removing the SCSI port to do it either. That's going to be too much danger and a lot of desoldering here. So let's not do that. So what I'm going to do is leave those out, and I'm just going to get some sandpaper and just gently get rid of that. As for that one, well, we'll see about that in a minute. All right, so to do this, I am using the tiniest bit of wet and dry that is slightly damp. I'm just going to gently, I don't want to put too much water down, just sand that back. See if we can just get as much of that out as possible. Just going to get a bit of kitchen roll so we can dap the excess off. because I really don't want to leave too much water here, and I've just bumped the camera. Right. Okay, so what I'm doing is I have a tiny bit of wet and dry sandpaper. I've got some lukewarm water. It's fine. I'm using as little water as possible. I'm just going to use it to gently sand it in place. I'm going to make sure I dab away the water as much as possible. Some kitchen roll. And yeah, the idea is I just want to polish that back up with this little bit of wet and dry. And hopefully then I can use something like silicone oil around it, because the trouble is it's going to rust again. So I'm going to use some silicone oil as a sort of barrier. And hopefully that will mean we don't end up with it rusting again too quickly. Alternatively, I can just order some fresh ports, I suppose. But it will mean taking out all of this. And you can see that already looks a lot better. Doesn't need much. So I'm just using 400 grit at the moment. It's just taking that corrosion off nicely. I mean, there's not much I can do about the fact that the chrome there is gone. So just to try our best, eh? Yeah, that's actually a lot better already. Get in there. Right, those are now nicely cleaned up. I gave them a little coat of contact cleaner afterwards, because I figured that would A, keep the rust away, and also help it have a little protective coating, like a dog. For now, let's actually get this drive cage out, which, if I remember, is way down there. Oh, I'm gonna have to take that logic board out, aren't I? All right, well, let's at least take this hard drive out. Oh, no, that's okay. Okay, now. Actually, this has to come out anyway, because I need to get into the fan. One logic board removed later, just to these. There's two more screws. One here, a little tight. And one more here. I can feel the cage giving way. Good. Close her out. Swing back around. Come out. Yeah. Sort of. Okay, it's caught on something. It's that way. Up there. It's stuck on nothing. There we go. Drive cage out, which actually means we can fit the fan. Fan goes in there. Yay. Right, it's fitting the fan, a little tricky. So it is surprisingly made by Canon. There you go. Yeah, it's a 12 volt DC fan. It's okay. I don't think it doesn't feel too bad running it. The air goes towards the sticker. Now, if I remember right, this sucks in air because it has to keep everything cool. At least I think that's what it does. So it's been a while since I took this apart. I'll check, but I'm pretty certain it would go in something like this. There we go. And it sits on top of the fan cradle there at an angle. The point to connect it is way up by the speaker. It's way there. It's awkward, but doable. Let me just check that's in the right way though. So a quick check. Apparently, yes, the fan is meant to pull air in from the bottom. So yeah, makes sense, I guess. Just gotta find the right screws now to put that in. So let me do that. Then we'll look at this floppy drive. All right, so fans back in. Let's get a better screwdriver in this. I need a bigger head. But let's get this hard drive out. I'll look and see if I've got another SCSI one. I don't think I do, but I have to get a blue SCSI, I think. I will say for Apple, the idea with these drive caddies is very good. At least you can just get the whole system out. There we go. One SCSI drive out of the way. So what we got? It's a 40 hard drive, 40 gig hard drive, and honestly, it's dead. All right, let's get out that floppy drive, shall we? All right, so we see a screw here. Oh, great, so we're missing one, because there's 3. I feel like there was probably 4. You can also see dust coming out of the side of it. So yeah, I haven't cleaned this. Oh God, no, I definitely have not cleaned this. I'm just gonna disconnect that. Here we are. One. That's a little filthier. Could be worse, but ugh. With the floppy drive cleaned and the hard drive replaced with the blue SCSI, it's time to get the machine back together. Cue the montage. Okay, I actually can't believe I get to do this. I didn't think this would ever happen. Let's switch it on and see if it works. We have power. We have a chime. Do we have picture? Come on, come on. Yes, we have picture. We have a mouse cursor, I believe. Yes. Does the mouse cursor work? Yes, it does. The Mac Classic is alive. Is he going to boot into using the blue SCSI? That's the other question. Yes. Yes, look, there it goes. It's the blue SCSI. I'm so happy right now. Let's give it a name. Now, there is, of course, only one name I can give this Macintosh, and that is its namesake. La Martina. And there we have it, look. It's loading up. And we have an operating system 6.0. This disk is damaged. Do you want to initialize it? Sure, why not? Nope. Well, that's a good start. But nonetheless, we have our system about this far. So we have 1024, so it sees all the memory, which is really good. Somewhere in this tech department is the RAM card. I will find it eventually and put it in there, but for now, well, doesn't look promising, does it? Nonetheless, our Mac is working. And yeah, I'm kind of curious whether that this drive works. Let me get a scrap disk or blank disk and try. It did in fact not work. Well, it gives me no end of pleasure to say I am so happy that this machine is up and running. Look, I can even tap it, nothing's wrong with it. It's working. I have had a bad week when it comes to various projects actually failing or having problems that were way worse than were expected. So having this long-term machine, which I was sure was never coming back from the Tech Netherworld, up and running, it's made my week. It really has. Now, it's not perfect. Our floppy drive doesn't work, despite the fact I took it apart, I serviced it. The eject function seems fine in terms of manual eject. However, either the Mac isn't seeing it, or it's actually just not getting any power, because it didn't really seem to do anything. I didn't hear any disk spinning action when I put a disk in the disk drive. So I will have to look at that again. Hopefully it's not a problem on the motherboard and it's just a problem for the disk drive. But in any case, it's actually not a problem. Because we have our Blue SCSI installed here, replacing our faulty hard drive, there are ways and means that I can install software without needing this floppy drive. And I'll be doing that in the future to get this machine up to a standard spec. Now, the only other thing that is problematic with this machine, well, you can hear it, listen. That's the fan. So the bearing on that fan is on its way out and will need to be changed. So I need to try and find a modern equivalent of a chassis fan for a 30 or 40-year-old machine. That'll be fun. Nonetheless, I am ridiculously happy to have La Martina back up and running. Now, I hope you enjoyed this video. It's probably a little more unusual. I did sort of meander around a bit, but I enjoyed actually making it. And yeah, when you get an outcome like this, it's worth its weight in gold. If you did enjoy it, please consider giving it a thumbs up. Or if you're not subscribed and you like the kind of, whatever it is, nonsense I do on this channel, please consider subscribing. It helps out my small channel no end, I promise you. All that's left to say now, though, is when it comes to old Macintosh classics that aren't the most exciting machines, but you know what? Reuse, rediscover, and replay if you must. Because you never know when you might find your very own challenge, and the payoff, well, it could be as good as this crisp screen. My name is Jess B. This has been my tech department. Cheers. Bye-bye.